Chassut, Chaussy, Provence, Nance, Chazat, Massy, Nance, Commissaire, et Font commis en famille. France was the first to jump to smokeless powder, but being the first doesn't always mean getting it right, and it was hard to configure a carbine out of the Lebel's length. So a whole new series of rifles will make the cut to provide the cavalry, artillery and other rare echelon troops. And also the Lebel showed its age, and even took the Lebel's place somewhat on the front lines. The Berthier Family. The Lebel was already semi-obsolete within the year it was produced, 1886. It was rushed into service and it couldn't get all the kinks figured out in time. Whilst most nations were basically perfecting their standard issues rifle at this time, the French could not cut down a tube-loader and make it work for a carbine length. So new models were made to suit the light infantry units. The Mannlichers of the Austro-German alliance designed an en bloc clip, already much faster than a tube-loader or single bullet action rifle at the time. In steps Mr. Berthier, who had an idea to shorten the Berthiers but to use the Austro-Hungarian mechanism. Then the Germans did theirs with the uni-dual directional en bloc clip, so he worked to suit the prototype. The prototypes were shortened and they added the AH magazine to suit them, but at the time it got shorter, the less of the Lebel it became and less complex. So a 5-shot magazine rifle, and then it was converted into a 3-shot, and then we'll come back to a 5-shot later, but let's finish the 3-shot first. So at the end, it was still nothing like the Lebel 3-round magazine lightweight rifle, so it wins all the trials and then to service in 1892, Family. I know what you're thinking, just 3 rounds compared to their first rifle which had 8 rounds. The German has 5 rounds in the Geweers, the British melee had 10 rounds, or SMLE, what you like to call it. Even the Americans had their 5-round and 10-round Pedersen device magazines, which could have entered service, trust me. But the problem with the Lebel is that even though it had 8 rounds, you had to load all the Lebel's rounds individually. So in the time you could take to load maybe 3 rounds, one en bloc clip of 3 rounds would already be in the rifle already. So it was really a step up in time and magazine length. Plus, at the end of the day, coming out from the musket, gunpowder, black powder age, it was pretty revolutionary and it was pretty cost effective as well. So it did come back to serve the 5-round magazine prototype at the beginning, so it kind of all works out to just balance up and keep out with the Gewehr and the Mannlichers and the stuff. Mostly news in cavalry units, some military police, way behind the lines echelon troops, some probably artillery gunners as well. Also, the Berthier 1892 was renamed to the Moscount 1892, and it was news for special troops, some NCOs, but the Berthier really came into its own in the early 20th century, World War I, shocker right? When they used to arm the Indo-Chinese people, basically Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, they were a bit short compared to European standards at the time, and the longer Lebel was already going to be out of style anyway, and it was very hard to handle. So one of the many configurations, but the Berthier was slightly longer barrel, but still being super light, so they worked for the Indo-Chinese, and the North African troops were given some as well, so it basically became the colonial rifle, which is basically so they basically worked for colonial troops. This is basically the 1907-1915 Berthier, long Berthier family rifle, and the French basically armed all their Indo-Chinese, North African, basically all their colonial troops with this Standard Fusilier model 1907 to 1915. It's 1906, maybe even before then, the French kind of slowed down and kind of stopped the mass production of the Lebel rifles until World War I, and then you take whatever you can get. So the Lebels were pushed back into service, and the 1907-1915 Berthiers were updated as well, mostly to be interchangeable and use Lebel parts. It was still basically a 3-shot Lebel until the Germans issued their 5-shot carbiners on the fields. This will send the French to upgrade the Moscount into a 5-shot, which will now be known as the M16. The improvements were a wooden handguard, 5-shot magazine of course, a steel plate to cover the hole to keep the mud and grime out from the bottom of the magazine. The M16 was an uncommon sight. You would mostly see a 3-shot Berthier on the field before you show an M16, but they were still given to some colonial troops, some trench raider groups and some special mountain forces such as the Chasseurs Alpines, and also given to some shock troops on the western fronts and raid units as well. World War II. Like other guns of other nations, World War II saw rifles re-emerge yet again. The Lebel, the SMLE, the Car 98, the Mosin, and even the 1903 from America. So the Berthiers remain yet again in their motherland. It was obviously a few modernizations within the interwar years, mostly Francofication, which is basically putting all the ammo and bullets and pretty much parts to make everything interchangeable, all the supply lines pretty much one. So it was basically still a 5-shot. Most of the 3-shots were pretty much done. Some still used them, mostly the police and other rear echelon troops like artillery gunners used the 3-shot. But it basically kept them until the end of the war, and of course by the early 50s, most of them were replaced by submachine guns and then later the FAMAS. But they did serve their nations well. So here's a cheesy one-liner. Basically make it up to standards with the Lebel and the Mars and other rifles of the time. And the 3-shot rifles, very uncommon at this time because everyone has a 5-shot now. They were basically given to military police and rear echelon troops. Mère, père, fils, filly. These were the members of the Lebel family. Yeah, cheesy one-liners, I know. Anyway guys, that is the second episode of the new weapons show I would like to do. Tomorrow, not next week, is the Chachut. So, is it the Chachut or the Chachut? Guess we'll know tomorrow.